Hey, what's up, everybody? The Cowboys passed on Derrick Henry, and Jerry Jones says it's because of Fitz. But is that the real reason? And what's going on with Troy Aikman's sharp criticism of the team? Jerry actually called it fair, and that's something you don't hear from him every day. We're breaking it all down, and trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Let's get into it. Hey there, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Fan, your ultimate destination for all things America's team. Whether you bleed blue and silver or are just starting to catch Cowboys fever, this is the place. If you are a die-hard fan, please make sure to subscribe for more latest news and updates of your favorite team. We're diving into a major topic that's been making waves in the NFL world: Jerry Jones, the Cowboys, and the whole Derrick Henry situation. Plus, we're going to talk about Troy Aikman's recent criticisms of the Cowboys and how Jerry Jones responded to those. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. So, as many of you might heard, Derrick Henry's name was floating around in trade rumors recently. It got a lot of people excited, especially Cowboys fans who've been hoping for a spark in the team's running game. With Ezekiel Elliott gone, and Tony Pollard taking over the lead back role, the idea of bringing in someone like Derrick Henry sounded like a match made in heaven for a lot of people. But it didn't happen. Now we know Derrick Henry is a beast. This guy has led the league in rushing, carried the Titans on his back in multiple seasons, and can bulldoze defenders like no one else. So, you'd think any team, especially the Cowboys with their history of dominant running backs, would jump at the chance to bring in someone like him, right? Well, according to Jerry Jones, that's not exactly the case. Jones recently came out and said the Cowboys didn't seriously pursue Derrick Henry because of fit. Now, that's an interesting word to use here, fit. What exactly does Jerry mean by that? Well, when he was asked about why Dallas didn't make a move for the Titans star running back, he essentially said that while Henry is obviously a great player, he might not be the right fit for the Cowboys' current roster and system. Now that's got a lot of fans scratching their heads. Derrick Henry seems like the kind of player you could fit into any system, right? But it seems like Jones and the Cowboys front office don't see it that way. Jones pointed out that the team is pretty comfortable with Tony Pollard as their main guy in the backfield. And I get it, Pollard has looked explosive and dynamic when healthy. But let's be real here, Pollard isn't Derrick Henry. They're different types of backs. Pollard is more of a quick, elusive guy who thrives in space, while Henry is that downhill, smash-mouth runner who wears down defenses over the course of a game. Jones also mentioned something else, the financial aspect. Of course, it's always about the money, right? Derrick Henry comes with a hefty price tag, and the Cowboys are already paying a lot of big contracts, Dake CD Lamb, and let's not forget they're probably going to have to pay Micah Parsons big money in the near future. Adding Henry would have meant restructuring contracts or moving things around, and maybe Jerry just didn't think it was worth the risk for what he sees as a poor fit. But honestly, from a fan's perspective, you have to wonder, was it really about fit? Or was it more about the money and not wanting to shake things up too much? It's hard to say, but Jerry Jones has always been calculated when it comes to these kinds of decisions. He likes to keep his cards close to his chest. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Recently, Cowboys legend Troy Aikman, who's never been shy about speaking his mind, had some choice words about the Cowboys' performance this season. Aikman was critical of their inconsistency and basically called out the entire organization for not living up to the potential that's on paper. And he's not wrong. This team, on paper, looks like a Super Bowl contender every year. But we all know the results haven't been there. Aikman's criticisms were particularly tough on the coaching staff and the front office, suggesting that the Cowboys have been making too many excuses and not enough progress. He pointed out that they've been falling short in the playoffs for years now, and something has to change. It's a harsh but fair critique from a guy who knows what it takes to win a Super Bowl in Dallas. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Instead of brushing off Aikman's comments, Jerry Jones actually agreed with him, calling the criticism fair. Yeah, you heard that, right? Jerry Jones agreed with Troy Aikman's critique of his own team. And let me tell you, that's not something we hear too often from Jerry. He's usually one to defend the organization and talk about how close they are to putting it all together. So, what does this mean? Well, for one, it shows that even Jerry Jones recognizes that there's a gap between where the Cowboys are and where they want to be. When a former franchise quarterback who brought 3 Super Bowls to the team calls you out, you can't just ignore that. Jerry knows that. And it sounds like he's willing to accept that criticism. Jones went on to say that Aikman's comments came from a place of love for the franchise. And that's probably true. Aikman bleeds Cowboys blue and wants to see this team succeed again. But the fact that Jerry didn't try to argue against the points Aikman made is telling. It suggests that there's some internal reflection going on in Dallas right now. Maybe the front office is starting to realize that what they've been doing just isn't working, and it's time for some serious changes. That said, I wouldn't expect any immediate, drastic moves. Jerry Jones is not the kind of owner who panics or makes huge changes mid-season. He's patient, sometimes to a fault, and he still believes this team can compete with the pieces they have. But I think this acknowledgement from Jones that Aikman's criticisms are fair is the first step in recognizing that something has to give. Maybe it's the coaching staff, maybe it's the roster construction, but something will have to change if the Cowboys want to get over that playoff hump. So, to wrap this up, it's clear that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are in an interesting spot right now. The decision not to pursue Derrick Henry might frustrate some fans, especially those who think Henry could have been the missing piece to a championship run. But Jones seems confident in the roster they've built around Tony Pollard and Dak Prescott, and he's betting on that fit over adding another superstar to the mix. As for Troy Aikman's comments, it's refreshing to see Jerry Jones acknowledge the criticism and not just brush it off. It tells us that even he knows things aren't perfect in Dallas. Whether or not that leads to real change, though, remains to be seen. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should the Cowboys have gone after Derrick Henry? And do you agree with Troy Aikman's criticisms of the team? Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got plenty more NFL content coming your way, so stay tuned.